Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Truth About Marketing. Got my good buddy here, Joey Parris. He's a brand developer and chief marketing officer at Patco Brands. Joey, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So why don't you start off, tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Patco Brands.
Myself, I don't know where to start. Played football at the Air Force Academy, got into marketing, got into storytelling in Los Angeles, and now I'm running marketing and brand development at a big alcohol company. And we make tons of brands. We make a lot of brands for all the major retailers you shop at: Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, all the Walmart, Costco's, and then we have our own national brands too. Mostly just alcohol, adult beverage, but getting into a lot of different things in convenience and non-alcohol markets too. So a lot of innovation, a lot of marketing.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, no, you'll definitely have a lot of good stories to tell. I know this podcast has some drinkers on it, so I'm sure they'll be some familiar with some brands.
If you need drinks, let me know. I'm your guy.
Perfect. So what we always do and we always start out with is our lightning round. So I ask, 7 questions, just shoot it from the hip. So if we start with that, you cool with it?
I'm ready. Let's rock.
All right, let's do it. So favorite marketing technology?
None. I'm not a big technology guy. I would say favorite marketing technology is talk to your best friend that has a high taste level or shops a lot.
Word of mouth, favorite technology.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, favorite social channel?
Instagram.
Nice. Least favorite social channel?
Snapchat. I just can't handle the crazy clickbait madness just to feed you ads.
I stopped using it years ago. Our friends still try to make it happen, but I gave up.
Yeah, no.
Brand or person with good marketing?
Liquid Death. Liquid Death. I love what they're doing. My buddies Greg is over there running their marketing and stuff, and he's a monster. Yeah,
dude, they're crushing it. Absolutely crushing it.
It's fun to watch. Like,
it's a whole what are they going to do next type of deal, right?
Yeah, I love it.
All right, brand or person that needs help with marketing?
Oh, that's a tough one, man. That's a tough one. Any pharmaceutical company that's ever paid for a commercial ad space, I think.
That's a fair one. That's a good one, to be honest.
Just cut it out. We're over it. You're scaring us.
Yep. Favorite influencer or business leader?
Favorite influencer or business leader would be favorite influencer or just favorite celebrity for me would be Rick Rubin. I just idolize him. I admire him. Love everything he does.
Nice. And then so brand or person you'd like to work with the most? It could be them or it could be a brand, like somebody that you really want to work with.
Just I don't know. I'm not just my friends. Any of my friends I want to build brands with. I've done it a ton in the past. It's always been the most fun and successful. You don't feel like you're working. If it was one celebrity or friend or whatever, I'd probably build like a women's or baby line with Kylie and do Similac and diapers and baby care, all that kind of shit.
Go for it. That's funny. I remember I felt like they were going to do it as a joke. Like the Fat Jewish was like doing something as a joke, but then a ton of people bought it and they were like, oh shit, like we might actually have to produce this now.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great idea. When I was like 20 or 21 and I first moved to LA, we bought our 3D printer when they were like brand spanking new. And I patented a scooper that you basically scoop and can pour in a water bottle.
Oh, okay.
That was cheaper and made with less plastic than the cheap whatever. You go into a locker room, shit all over the floor. And the number one market for it was Similac. And I've always just been like, now that I'm more in CPG and understand, like people aren't going to stop having babies, and it's
right.
Those crazy numbers.
Your customer base just keeps reloading, right?
Crazy. So you get a big celebrity on something like that, all the young moms will buy it.
Yep, absolutely. Well, so why don't we talk about like kind of how your career's evolved, like where you started, and because like you said, you were 20, 21, moved to LA, and now there's some in between being there and being the CMO of a pretty thriving beverage company.
Yeah. I don't know how much time we have. It's a very very bizarre journey, crazy journey. I was 18, wrote a movie when I was playing football at the Air Force Academy. Was optioning that movie, going back and forth, like trying to sell this movie and everything. With a buddy of mine, ended up dropping out of college and leaving my scholarship, went to LA. And when I was in LA, I started living with a family that was big in the entertainment world. So kind of inevitably, I'm 18, 19, I'm living in the guest house. And, a lot of the people that were hanging around there were, famous families and part of that community and stuff like that. And, just got to see a lot of them grow up. So, they were kind of tattle on me. Joey's got girls in the guest house, or Joey's, drinking or partying, or something's going on in the, so they were like little bro, little sis type of people. And then when my brother, he played football at Notre Dame, he had a finance degree. He ended up moving out to LA with me, and we got into the finance world. So then we, got the penthouse in the city, and Midwest kids, grew up in Cleveland, and, we're having a good time, and a lot of people would come hang out and stuff like that. So then a lot of that community that I kind of was taken into when I first moved there, we were just all having a good time. So through that is kind of how I got into marketing. People would just call me and be like, "Hey, Joey, do you know so-and-so?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, sure. Like, they're actually over here. What's up?" And that was kind of how the first like guerrilla marketing things. I was making a lot, like really good money in the finance world with my brother. And the marketing thing just like happened. It wasn't even trying. And, I think the first big deal was not even big. It happened in like 15 minutes, but my buddy Greg, he was at MeUndies, and Terry, they were running the marketing over at MeUndies and operations. And MeUndies was a really cool brand at the time, e-commerce. This is probably 2014 or 15.
Yeah.
And they hit me up like, "Hey, do you know Kylie Jenner?" And I was like, yeah, she's actually over here right now. She's hanging out. What's up? They're like, "Do you think she would help us launch our women's campaign?" Long story short, I was like, "Just say a number, man. I don't know. Like, I can ask her right now." He said a number that was so nominally small today, if you knew what it was.
Yeah.
Not even six figures type of a thing. And, the next day we're all like, cool, they got the product, took a picture, and they sold out the next day of their entire women's line. And it was
crazy.
Not some big strategy, not some big anything. I just, told Kylie to take kind of a provocative picture where she's like sagging, and she like took a selfie with the MeUndies on and tagged them. And the women's thing kind of took off from there. But from that point, it kind of just became more and more just like random deals, because that wasn't anything I was interested in doing. And it was kind of annoying. Like, I'm not trying to go and ask friends to like, "Hey, the contract said 12 o'clock. What are you doing? It's 3 p.m. You just woke up." I'm not like trying to babysit. So I had no interest of like scaling it as a business.
Right.
But from there, I actually got into publishing. So I kind of turned my writing career. I wanted to find ways to make money and continue to pursue my creative stuff. So started writing television, started writing poetry and stuff, got signed as a poet, and, got into the publishing world. And then I kind of thought that model was broken. So we built a publishing business where the artist gets half of the royalties, no advances. Let's just market this. And we focused on Instagram writers and poets. So
nice.
A lot of the big Atticus and all the big poets, we were publishing. And then kind of from there, understanding how to leverage IP and books. We did a book with Guns N' Roses and some other stuff. So we were trying to figure out how to leverage IP, and my brother, we had optioned like a couple shows to small production companies and things like that. But then I partnered up with someone that was actually at the publishing company with me. Him and his friends had been on an MTV show in the past called The Buried Life. 4 Canadian guys running around doing crazy shit. So we kind of all had a production company together. We were making shows for MTV and Freeform, and really just creative. Like, I was more so, here's talent we can inject in here. Here's concepts, more of an ideator and like just a producer bringing the right people together. But, we did like Rory Kramer's show, Dare to Live, where Rory would go film Justin Bieber, or Steve Aoki or Shawn Mendes in Japan, sumo wrestling, and then film his show. So we were making really fun, young, like edgy Gen Z content that was edited differently, and really modern for the times. And from there, it was kind of the same thing. Talent would come and just, "Hey, I have this idea. I want to bring it to life." And I was in Bali, Indonesia with my friends. And this girl showed up, and I was trying to work on a rosé company at the time. This was
Mm-hmm.
6 or 7 years ago. And she had this tequila. It was amazing. And she said it was her family's tequila. It was a family, just her and her brother and their dad, and 4 people, all family.
Yeah.
And she's like, you should help us market this, people, blah, 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 blah. So I went and met her brother, and, I came on. We had like one tequila brand and one margarita brand, I think, at the time. And yeah, the rest is kind of history. I kind of came in, they had no marketing team. They were outsourcing all the agencies, and I had never done beverage, but I was like, yo, I could do this for sure. I just kind of dove in and went from there and just kind of figured it out.
That's awesome. Well, so it sounds, obviously you had a lot of turns and different people and things and happenstance that have happened, but like, I think there's also an element of, figuring out what you're good at, leaning into your strengths, right? So obviously, like, you being a creative, like, marketing comes really naturally for you. But talk a little bit about like what it is, the process of, you kind of went from, again, you have these ideas, you're writing, you're doing poems, you're doing music, you're doing things like that. But then now you're getting into marketing. Like, how do you apply that creative spirit and like work it into building a brand?
Yeah, it's all the same thing. It's the only thing that's important, at least for me. And this is definitely my approach to marketing, is it's just storytelling. And, people aren't buying brands. People are buying personalities, I think, more than anything. And you need to create, as an artist, like, it's your job to take risks and to express yourself. And I think more so than ever, brands are scared to truly express themselves because of cancel culture or whatever it is, just social climate, where everything's at. And, I think the strong voices and the risk takers right now are the brands that are going to win and that inspire us and like show us to be our true selves and express ourselves fully. But it's all just storytelling. Like, me and my team, we do so many creative blitzes where everyone gets to, I'll build a really weird worksheet where come up with a concept for this, this, and this, and everyone gets their time, and we pitch and we brainstorm, and it's 4 hours. And by the time you're done with it, you're like, don't have an ounce of brain power left. But it's all about no zone. Anything's possible. What's the wildest thing that we can do? And whether you're making music or trying to sell a song or a movie or whatever, it needs to be engaging. And I think that's where a lot of brands actually are just lacking right now.
But so one thing that's interesting that I talk to a lot of people, right, is everybody has ideas. Everybody, like, I could sit in a room and I come up with 100 ideas, but then it's all about the execution, right? So like, when I agree with you in the sense that, like, look, people are being very soft or moderate or modest with their ideas, right? But like, let's say you have a great idea. What do you guys do then? So you have that, like you said, you have that document, you come up with this great idea. Then how do you take action on it, or like, take it to market? Because people will say that, well, I tried Instagram ads. Oh, I tried YouTube. Oh, I tried, like, what do you guys do to take something to life?
One filter I would say before you're ideating is like, have an understanding of opportunity. Like, we're going into these ideations with like a very clear understanding of Nielsen data, what's trending, where things are moving, what's happening on TikTok, what's happening on Instagram, like, just where do we think it's going? Where do we see opportunity? Where do we see a lack of competition? Where do we see, dollars moving? And then that's where we're ideating in. So like, you're already in a sandbox of, if we come out with something that matches this criteria, it's going to win.
Yeah.
So then, once you have the ideas, it's just, I don't know, for me, it's just an obsession. Like, I don't know. I'm the idea guy. Some friends have a voice, they can just sing and it's there.
Sure.
My tool is my brain. And until it comes out and it's real and I can touch it, see it, feel it, like, it'll kind of consume me, but that looks different. A lot of times, for me, my creative process is bringing it together visually with our design team.
Mm-hmm.
Let's build mood boards. Let's just like get the idea, get it out in a beautiful deck, and then we'll start fine tuning it. And then, you talk about the last phase is like, is this financially viable with this beautiful bottle and this beautiful label and this marketing plan and where a retail would want to buy it at? Is it tangible? Is it a profitable thing for the business?
Right. And so that being said, though, so then talk about a little bit, I guess, because we talk a lot on here. There's people that do like marketing campaigns, or they're, it's an idea that they're turning into an advertising, an ad campaign, whatever you want to call it. But you're
Yeah.
actually building like an entire brand. You're saying like, hey, soup to nuts, like I'm going to take this thing from there was nothing. We created this, and then we're going to take it to market. Is there anything that you like lean on, or like your company that like, and again, you're doing a lot of alcohol and beverage and things like that. So maybe there's certain channels that are, better for that industry than another. But I guess what I was going back to is that like a lot of people feel like we got to do Instagram, we got to do TikTok, we got to do, and they feel like they're trying to like boil the ocean and like be everything to everybody.
Yeah.
Like, how do you guys feel about that when you're going to market with something?
It's it's a blessing and a curse because our portfolio is so diverse. We have some convenience brands that are gas station that are $2.50 and speak to one audience and have a certain personality and brand element. Another brand may be more Hispanic inspired and more towards a female grocery shopper, and another brand that's a premium tequila that's towards a more affluent consumer that cares about health and additive free and all that sort of stuff. It's really understanding your brand and your audience, I think, and what do they want and what is missing for them, and like just looking at voids. I think there's so much copycatting that happens because like it's just whether it's people scared of losing their jobs or people just trying to toe the line. But
Be safe,
I think looking at like just voids, like just watch 5 minutes of commercials and say, what would I have done with that commercial space for Domino's? What would I have done with that commercial space for that pharmaceutical company that is horrible? Like if you think about it, you probably got a lot better ideas than what ends up coming out. I think today on a D2C level though, on a D2C level, e-commerce, you can be so much more impulsive and trial things because you don't have to plan 16 months out for a grocery chain. Right. Where like I would just I'd do something way over here, way down here, and like I would try ladies' night at bingo, and then I would try a frat house. I would be putting out so much different types of content and seeing, the data.
Yeah, and so what I was just going to say, it's interesting, and we had, I've had some PR guests, I've had kind of people across different industries, and they're like, they talk about all the time that like people just don't take risks anymore, and that we've gotten, very soft in our thinking. Because what my kind of take on it is like they say, oh yeah, you can't like lean one way or the other, and again, whether it's political or just personal beliefs or religion or whatever it is, it's almost to the point where you either toe the line, you're super safe, but then you're really not going to experience any kind of exponential uptick or growth or anything. Mm-hmm. Or you lean all the way in. Like you just lean into who you are and what you are, and you don't care about the rest. You're just like, hey, if you hate me, I don't care. That's not who I am. And you just go all in, right? Totally.
And that's like something that people need to live with. I think like looking at my journey, I'm a pretty like pro risk guy. I dropped out of the university and football and did finance, then filmmaking and then writing and then all this stuff. And it's like, I don't know, when I look at anything meaningful in my life, it came with a lot of risk. And I feel like if you expect anything different from a brand, which is like a little baby or person or identity or whatever you want to identify it as, it's like, do something courageous. And, I think you'll enjoy the outcome and sleep better at night than
what if or regret or for sure. So let's talk a little bit about that. I think this would be kind of a cool topic to get into, or at least for like the listeners to be like, damn, okay, what is one time where you took a risk and it blew up? Like you took a risk and it just was an epic fail. And then what's another time when you took a risk and it was a massive success? So give us both ends of the spectrum.
Oh my gosh.
Like I know I have one back from my PR days when we took a risk on a campaign, and it just ad campaign. We went for it. We tried to be provocative, and it just blew up. We got all kinds of press and all this, but they were like potty humor, like just not being serious. Why would you ever take this company seriously? And it just blew up in our face, right? Like, totally. So I have those, and I have other ones where campaigns like through the roof, resulted in 6 figures worth of revenue inside of 3 months. Like, great. But
I mean, one of the things that ended up blowing up in my face was like that MeUndies thing. I was like, it was such an eye-opening moment for me because I said, oh, this brand just made tens of millions of dollars and I didn't make a penny. And like, it was kind of just like, what happened, like the magic that happened in the moment of, yeah, let's do this. And that's where the, like, not only the value was generated, but the execution as well. And, you know, that's really what kind of like, I was like, geez. And then that's where I want to get more on the brand side, but that was almost like a blow up. You know, honestly, in the, since we've been in the beverage world, it's been awesome. Something that I loved, you know, I honestly love what we're doing at Big Sipz. We just launched it 190 days ago. It's the number 3 ready to drink and convenience brand in Texas and in Arizona, which is just like an anomaly over the last 4 weeks, and number 8 nationally. And we're in like 6 or 7 states only. So seeing where that goes, but our slogan and our campaign is bigger's better. And, you know, I think it's funny because it's a little cup and packs a punch at 16%, but like that's probably a term or a slogan that people would want to stay away from because, you know, of context and whatnot. But like, we think it's fun. We think we're all adults. It's an adult beverage. Like, let's have a laugh. Like, this is a good time. Right. So
we got to try them a week ago. They're pretty good and they do pack a punch, but it's, and I think too, like, you know, for us, I'm not a typical consumer. Like, I walk into that and I normally go into a convenience store. I know what I'm getting. I'm getting like a case of beer. But it caught my eye and I was like, well, what is this? Because I don't think anybody's really kind of disrupted that space in a long time, right? Like, we're used to seeing the same stuff. So to your point, take a risk, put something different out there. If it plays, it plays. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But like for me, it caught our eye like immediately. I was like, damn, what is that? Like, I haven't seen something like that in a long time. And I think even I remember saying to somebody, I was like, I just haven't touched anything like that since like Four Locos. You know what I mean? Like, where it's something different, but really strong. So we're like, grab some. And they were actually pretty good. Totally. I mean, in the same vein, like Dough Ball, like our cookie dough whiskey, that was a risk making a cookie dough whiskey. And it's been a rocket ship. And, you know, our slogan there was like, who doesn't fucking love cookie dough? And the only reason it became that was we really wanted to push cookie dough because that's the sticking point for the brand. It's a cookie dough whiskey, which I think is unique. And people will say, I like cookie dough. Let me try it. But we made these shirts and it said, who doesn't fucking love cookie dough? Huge across the back. And everyone was like, dude, I need more shirts. It's such a talking point. Like, I get stopped in the street asking where can they get one and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, we'll just rock with that as our slogan then. So just having fun with it too, you know, I think is important. Absolutely. So you guys kind of have like, I would say, I don't want to say like a war chest, but like obviously you've done pretty well. But when you were getting started out, I would assume that like you didn't have a ton of like resources and things like that. So for people who are like just getting going, or maybe they're just starting their first brand, like what would be like advice for you as far as, I don't want to say bootstrapping, but just being like conscientious to like, hey, here's kind of like the core things that I would look at when starting a brand. Yeah. From a brand perspective, building and starting a brand is like, think about that. You should be building it for a market that's ready to receive it and that's eager to receive it. You know, that should be first and foremost. And then what is that market missing and what is the voice that like needs to be heard in that market that will be different? And like from the name to the slogan to the look and feel and everything, create that difference and accentuate it as much as you can. And if you're bootstrapped on a marketing budget, I've been my entire career, we're going up against Gallo and Anheuser-Busch and Sazerac, all you know, Constellation, all the biggest brands in the world. And we're a family-owned private company compared to them. And you have to just think about what is essential and what is going to move the needle. If that means putting all your dollars into one influencer and introducing your product to market in one big splashy way, do not tick boxes. I need SMS. I need, email retargeting. I need digital ads, TikTok ads, Snapchat. Like just what is essential? And for you, like, how would you spend those dollars if they're your dollars? If they're the business's dollars, one thing. If they're just your dollars, like, what is it? If I was launching an e-commerce direct-to-consumer brand, like, I would be hammering Meta ads. Yeah. So that's what I'd be doing, and I would just be super tight on the budget there and pump a lot of creative out. Yeah. No, I think it's just something that comes up a lot, right? Like people are like, oh, that's great. Like you guys have money or this person has money or you work for a big company, but it's like it's not always that. And I think that you made a really good point that if you find something, you find a person or an influencer, or you find like something that works or that you think will work for that brand, why mess around with the other shit? Like, why try to do, email and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube? If that's not going to make sense, don't do it. Right. Like, and
Right.
if maybe you get big enough eventually, then yes, then pour into those channels. But for right now, if you found something that's going to drive revenue and then help you to grow your budget, then do that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, we're not a raise money and blow it and try to like, that's not our model. Our model is profitability. And my career got started in alcohol because they were using agency work. And I kind of was just like, I never done marketing in alcohol, like I said, but I told them, I was like, you're paying them this much a month. Give me half of that and just trial me out and let me show you what I could do with it. And, within 6 months, 8 months, whatever it was, we had over 100,000 followers on Instagram. We're getting write-ups in all these articles. We're, engaging at celebrity parties and events, and people are writing about it, posting about it, just like from guerrilla style. And like, no matter how big you get, I think you need to keep the bootstrap mentality. And I think you need to stay guerrilla style, because you just get lazy and you just start ticking boxes, and it all starts to feel that way on the consumer side.
I was just going to say, I think the consumer feels that too, right? Like, you start to feel brands kind of, I don't want to say sell out, but they feel very plain, and you kind of lose that affinity with them, right? Like, I think we were just talking about Liquid Death. Liquid Death, like, it's fucking water. You know what I mean? Like, they're selling water. But at the end of the day, like, again, there's some stuff that I don't like about what they do, right? Like, there's some of their campaigns that I'm like, that's super corny. But they went out and they did something, right? So they've had, like, the Travis Barker thing. They've done just multiple different ads. But what I say about them is the same thing from Howard Stern in Private Parts, right? His movie.
Yeah.
Where I think it's Paul Giamatti. He's playing the record exec who's like, I don't understand why people are listening to Stern. And so he pulls out the ratings and he's like, well, the average person that loves Howard Stern listens for an hour and a half. The number one reason, they want to hear what he's going to say next. Yeah. The average person that hates Howard Stern listens for 2.5 hours. Number one reason, they want to see what he's going to say next, right? So, like, that's how I feel about Liquid Death. I'm like, some shit I hate, but I'm still watching them because I want to see what's going to happen next.
Totally. And they're like the perfect example of the last question of, like, what should you have in mind when building a brand, and how you, like, water, it's boring. It's called Liquid Death. When they named the brand, they had the whole thing figured out. When they built the can, they had the whole thing figured out. Like, from the skulls to the death metal to everything, they're like, kill your thirst. Like, when you have a good concept, the tagline writes itself, the can makes itself, the campaigns figure themselves out. It's just so much easier versus if you don't build a nice baby to start with. You're trying
to. And then it opens up so many doors, right? When it's really kind of thoughtful, you're like, all right, here's the angle we're taking. Here's how we're going to go about this. To your point, they took something super mundane, something that nobody ever gave a shit about, and then they started, like, acting like it was like this hardcore, like,
I love it.
Like,
I love it so much. It's so cool.
Yeah. Well, and I started sitting back thinking, like, God, what are some, like, boring industries, or, like, boring, like, that you could make, like, Liquid Death? You know what I mean? Like, in my head, I'm just spinning with ideas.
Baby formula.
As we talked about earlier, baby stuff, right? It's, like, super boring. It's supposed to be, like, organic and, like, really, like, soft, and you could probably do something fun with that. But
if you just did, like, nude colored diapers, like, make them look like Skims, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got the earth tone diapers and stuff. All the young moms would be like, dude, this is so cool.
Oh my God. This guy, don't be giving away all your ideas, dude. You have to start charging people on the podcast.
There's a billion of them.
That's awesome. So for you, as a busy guy that works with multiple brands, right? So I find myself, like, dealing with this, just having, like, multiple projects going on, multiple businesses. But, like, what are some, like, good productivity hacks or things that you do to kind of, like, compartmentalize, right? Because it's really hard to, like, put on one hat, do that, and then go to the next.
I'm the least organized. Like, I'm the least organized guy. But my team works in the same chaos that I do, and luckily I've been able to build a team like that. So I'll have an idea, I'll text it, to a project manager, and then they, so I think you got to build a system that works for you, because I would say I'm more of an artist than I'm a manager, leader and my team is successful because they don't feel like they're in some tight corporate setting. They're free to express themselves and take risks and be vulnerable and things like that. I think that's really important from if you're managing teams or building teams. And for me, it's staying out of routine is really important for me. So if I go from my days usually stacked with 8 to 10 calls, back-to-back Zooms, then I get into email. And when it feels like Groundhog Day, I'm not being creative and I'm not approaching each call with the right zest or freedom to express and come up with the ideas. I'm usually the kook that's like, oh, what if we do this or that and pitch it to 7-Eleven, or something. And, if I gotta, whether that's meditating quickly, whether that's taking a quick walk, whether that's taking a cold shower, a cold plunge, or whatever it is, like you just gotta constantly not feel like you're just working. And the more I can just feel like I'm myself and I'm in this situation that happens to be a work call, then I perform better. And one idea can change everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think breaking up your day, just like no matter what, I think you said it perfectly in the sense that, like, dude, if you're just starting to feel like you're just going through the motions or like you're just dragging ass, like it's not even coffee that's going to do it. Like, dude, like you said, go jump in a cold plunge, go jump in the pool, like go do something that's just going to like completely screw up what's going on and get you reset,
Totally. Yeah. That means eating or working out in the middle of the day or just stay fresh. You know what I mean? Keep your mind fresh.
Yeah. Keep your mind guessing, right? What's going to happen next? Okay, what is something, so because again, there's a lot of people that think that they're creative. Listen, I used to think I was creative until I met creatives. Then I'm like, holy shit, these guys are fucking awesome. Like I would never even a million years think about that. Like I'm funny, I'm witty, I can be quick in my head and quick in my thinking, but I'm not a true creative. What are like some things that for you are kind of like myths about what you do? Because again, like I went into it thinking, no, they just kind of come up with ideas and they throw them at a board. That's it. Like, so what are like myths that people think about what you do?
Myths. Oh, wow. That it's like super hard, that you need like to go to college and you need some degree, or you need to take some course on marketing, or you need to watch some drip feed thing that some guy's selling you. It's like, if you feel like you have a good understanding of what a group of people want, then trust that gut and express that and go after that. I have no experience. I just jump at things and I trust my instincts. And a lot of that comes from me being around some of the best creatives in the world for 12 years in LA, in intimate settings, and finally getting the courage to voice my opinion. And then I'm saying, that's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
These are the best songwriters in the world, or these are the biggest people in the world. And, trusting your gut. And the more you just like don't have a filter and you really, if the people hate the idea, you learn and you move on from that. If people love it, then you build confidence. And I think the more you take those creative risks, expressing yourself and the thing you think is weirdest, the fastest way to grow in my team is to be bold and brave and express yourself. I don't care if you're 18 or 57, it doesn't matter. So I think those are the myths, is like, you need to have this crazy foundation of knowledge or anything like that. Like you could just be a really sick tastemaker and you could build the biggest brand in the world.
Yeah, 100%. And I think some people, they kind of struggle with that too. Like they feel like it's like imposter syndrome, like that, like, oh, like I'm not good enough. I don't have this. I don't have what it takes. And genuinely, like you said, it's a lot of the time it's like people like arguing with themselves or like battling their own demons. Like, dude, nobody told you that was a bad idea, right? So like, just you don't have to meet this or meet that. And like, I think that's such a thing of the past where it's like, oh, well, we require you to have this degree and this much experience. Like, dude, I've seen some of the best workers, the best ideas, the best marketing I've ever seen come out of a 20-year-old. It's impossible for them to have 10 years of experience or have done 20 million in ad campaigns. They've never done it, but they connect with that audience. They know what they're talking about.
100%. And like, those are the kids. They're going to adopt AI faster. They're going to be more efficient workers in marketing. They're going to be able to do what 4 people can do because they know how to manage ChatGPT well and whatever the heck else. Yeah, it's.
And what is it? So while you're on that subject, do you find yourself using AI? I talk to this about everybody, pretty much with everybody I talk to, is about the whole AI thing. Like, I use it, but it's more of just like a starter kit. It's like, all right, I need to get this many activities done. Like, do it. Like, hey, get me started on this blog, get me started on this post. But then I go in and change a bunch of it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like I sit there and just let it write everything for me. Do you typically like use it in full? Do you partially use it? Do you not use it at all?
I use it a ton. I
Okay.
use it a ton. I have a design team that is extremely talented, like the best of the best. And on a weekly basis, we're probably designing 50 projects. And it's just not every project is created equal. If you look at Midjourney, I can get a bottle concept. Yes, the copy on it won't work, and we can Photoshop that easily. But for quick things that we need to present to a retailer around a brand idea, like boom, it's done. And that would have taken a designer 2-3 hours to do.
Right.
And so little things like that, when it comes to slogans, website copy, things like, it's a good thought starter.
Right.
It might spark some things. So sometimes I use it just like that, just to, get some words to pop up that I haven't been thinking about or whatever. But where it's gonna be is just like those who adopt will succeed and those who don't will fall behind. And
yep.
I really I think it's clear enough now that everybody should understand that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's one of those things that you're going to have to understand how to use AI the same way that you're going to have to understand how to use social media, like on a baseline level at a minimum, right? Like if you have no idea how to use Facebook, Instagram, etc., like you're way behind.
Totally.
Now, to say that you need to be an expert at TikTok these days, well, you don't necessarily have to be, but like, that's another good channel that people are getting used to and like starting to really adopt. But yeah, I don't think that it's gonna take over all of a sudden. Like, again, people are like, oh, we're gonna lose our jobs, or we don't need marketers. I don't think that's gonna happen. But I also do think some of those lower level jobs or people, the kind of like internships and this and that, like, I don't know if I need to pay a lower level person when I could just use, an app.
Yeah. I think inevitably, if I'm a designer or I'm somebody that's at risk of something like feeling that way, then I would really dive into it, and really figure out how to triple my output, because at the end of the day, it's about results and efficiency. And if you can create better results more efficiently, and that's a tool to do that, then you should feel a responsibility to do that, in your role if you want to continue to grow. So it just is where we're at. It's a wild thing to think about, but listen, I don't love TikTok. I'm not a crazy TikTok guy. A lot of red tape around TikTok and alcohol as well. But it'd be irresponsible for me not to be on there and understand it as a CMO and see what's going on and how brands are using it and things like that.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, again, to each their own. Everybody, will find success in different ways. But I just think the number one that you kind of went back to was that, like, look, if you are feeling scared of it, if you're feeling like, oh, it's going to leave me in the dust, then maybe you should spend more time on it, right?
Like, that would be
yeah,
it's crazy.
So right now, is there any like big challenges that you feel like you're facing now or moving forward? So like in your industry, whether it's your industry, your role, like, is there anything that like you're really facing from a, marketing or branding perspective that's a challenge for you?
There's there are challenges. There are also opportunities, that's kind of why I love our business is, the economy's slipping and people are trading down and inflation. So convenience gas stations, they're seeing smaller format, cheaper single serve things are working, right? A $5 beer is more enticing to somebody. A $3 drink is more enticing to somebody than a $30 bottle of tequila when they're strapped for cash. So, we're a big grocery brand and, a lot of success through grocery and typical retail channels. But now we're like, what can we do what can we create to kind of cater to that as well as our current offerings? So innovating and finding ways to capture that as well is important and service those customers and channels that we're not currently. I think, understanding where society's going is important too over the next 12, 18 months, 24 months, just to make sure you're setting yourself up for success. Everything's not going to always be as it is today. So that's something I've learned, over time, just being in CPG. It's not, can't just turn on a dime like you would on D2C. You got to make sure you're being, successful for your partners, your retail partners, your buyers and stuff. So that's a challenge, and when your expectation, our expectation is always number one and top brand in its category and success. And we've reached that with a lot of our brands. But when the second you are successful, a lot of copycats show up and things like that. So you got to weather those storms. You got to fight them off, and maintain. So that's usually like the challenge is okay, now there's competitors, now the economy's shifting, and really just making sure you're innovating, you're stabilizing, you're doing all the things to kind of protect your baby and your business and continue to grow it at the pace you've been growing it. Is like, where's the ceiling? And once you start getting towards it in the whole category, it's like, how can we even keep going? How can we keep growing the whole category?
As you've gone and you've had all these experiences, like what is, like one like kind of lesson or kind of advice that you would give someone that's starting out and like wanting to get into branding or wanting to become a part of like a branding and marketing team?
I would say hit up CMO with a 3-page deck that looks really cool with a banging idea and an intro and a resume that looks really cool. Like, and when I say resume, I don't care what your experience is. Just like, let me know what you're about and what your vibe is. And if it's cooler than something I've seen recently, I'll get on the phone with that kid instantly. So like I would just like present something that like inspires you. And I would go at your dream brand and do that. Like, do your top 5 favorite brands, pitch them on a concept. And maybe the guy's crazy enough to say, hey, I'll give you $100,000 to do that. See what you got.
Yeah. I think that's always also like super cool. Gary Vee kind of talks about like that, where, he's like, if you come in with a plain old resume and a plain old, like, I don't get you don't stoke any emotion in me. Like, I'm not excited about you. Like,
right.
But if you come with that energy and the creativeness and what I'm looking for on my team, like now you at least got a seat at the table. It doesn't mean I'm going to hire you, but you at least got yourself a shot,
Yeah. And I'm not going to do it like them, and them. I'm going to do it like me and try me out. If it works, let's keep rocking. And that's kind of how I've always got where I'm at, is just like, start doing it. Don't wait for an opportunity to do it. Just start doing it. And if you don't know how to do it, just say you will and just figure it out.
Yeah, figure it out on the go, dude. The amount of times like you take on a project or you do something, you're like, oh yeah, I can do that. That night you're like on YouTube, how to
Yeah, literally. I mean, how to make a TV show, how to set up meta ads, like whatever it is, just start doing it. And like, once you get your hands dirty and your 10,000 hours or whatever, it's just like, it gets complicated, and then it gets really simple again, where you're just back to your instincts.
Absolutely. All right. Is there anything that you wanted me to ask or wanted to touch on that we didn't touch on?
When am I coming out to Arizona next? No.
Yeah, right. Well, your boys are here now, so
I know.
I think Ski's here till like the 2nd. But yeah, dude, whenever, you're always welcome here.
Yeah, no, I got to get out there.
Yeah. So like, what is like the best piece of advice you've ever gotten?
I mean, there's so much, but one person once told me, was like, it's not if you're crazy, it's like, how crazy are you? Like, in a way where, and he's a uber successful musician and artist, and that always kind of stuck with me, where he's like, it's the crazy ones that reach the one tip of the iceberg, like that reach the summit, because you kind of have to be to get to where you want and separate from the pack. And that's always back to like the risk thing. And in the same sentence, he also kind of told me like, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, just be patient and your time will come, and trust the process. Like, and it may happen quick. And if it does happen quick, still understand that it's a marathon.
Yeah.
No, don't burn yourself out trying to be something or do something. Like, just enjoy it and try to build something long-term that you can just like really enjoy feel invigorated on a daily basis. So
yeah, I mean, I think that plays into right now, like people who did have success or been quick, to do something really good. Like, dude, I don't know a person that's not affected by like the economy or what's going on right now, right? So like, even if times were good 5 years ago, like everybody's going through it, right? So no matter how successful you are, so that's like really good advice from the sense that like, even if you did succeed quickly, like you're gonna hit rough patches, you're gonna hit times like this where nobody can avoid it. You know what I mean?
yeah, and it's fun. It's like such a contradiction to like how crazy are you, because it's you want to be wild and expressive, but you also want to be patient and thoughtful at the same time. So it's a good balance, I think for me, someone like me that's pretty extreme and wild. So that what's your best piece of advice?
I was just gonna say, so like normally the last thing I ask is like, okay, what do you have a question for me? So if that's it,
I have two questions for you.
All right, you let it rip.
What's the best piece of advice that you've ever given or you would give to somebody as well? So 2-part question. And then the last question would be, like, what are you most proud of from your past, and what are you most excited about doing in the future?
All right, so start with the advice. So the advice that I would give to people is just to keep going. Like no matter what, like we just kind of talked about, you're gonna like run into shitty times. You're gonna run into rough patches. Like no matter how bad you feel, like no matter how low, like you think things are, it'll come back. Like you will be okay. You just have to keep fighting. The only time that it won't come back or you won't is if you quit, right? You only lose if you quit. So that's my like big piece of advice that 100%. And so and then for me, something that I'm probably the most proud of is just, I say this kind of oddly, but like, I was an only child, like grew up a very normal family and everything like that. But what I've always been proud of is like making the most of every opportunity that's been given. So like not sitting around on my laurels, not like, sitting on the couch, like kicking my feet up, like if there's opportunity, like my parents worked their ass off for me to get to where I am today. So like, I don't want to let that go to waste by being lazy and like not taking advantage of this opportunity. So that's something that I'm really proud of.
Amen.
Something I'm looking forward to in the future, honestly, like might sound kind of weird, but like, cause I've done a lot professionally and everything, but like just looking forward to having a family, man, like having some kids, like, doing the whole thing, like just having a profession, but also like raising a family, having a little mini me, something like that, that's probably next on the horizon here in the next couple of years. So
let's go. We're all excited for that. I mean,
yeah, dude. Great conversation. Definitely looking forward to your next trip to AZ. And 100%. Yeah, man, I appreciate you. I got to give one more big shout out to High Level. It's a software that I use for, my business, and they've been working with us on this podcast and everything. So really appreciate it. You can check it out. There's a link in this video and in my bio. Big shout out to High Level. But thank you again, Joey Parris. Appreciate you, buddy.
This was fun.